If you, like me, have decided to get into bookbinding, you probably looked into some of the equipment you need and realized that there's something called a Bookpress. And you realize that that's basically a universal multi-tool for everything you need to do. Nearly every step is like do X, Bookpress, do Y, Bookpress, do Z, Bookpress, and so on. So of course you're like, I should get one. And then you Googled a little, just like I did, and you found this model. And this model you found probably on Amazon, you found it on eBay, probably also Alibaba or AliExpress or whatever they're called. And then you've been wondering, is it worth it? Is it actually good? At least I wondered, and I did the logical thing. I bought one. This is a picture of mine. It's really difficult to see it with the books in the background, so I took a picture of where it stands, because it's not in my living room. Yeah, so the question is, why did I buy it? Well, I bought it because even though like every YouTube video I found on the subject, every Facebook group, every forum post or whatever says you can buy like old vintage ones for cheap everywhere, really in Denmark you couldn't. Like an old vintage one is either twice the price of this one, or it's like they're lacquered or something, so they are unusable. Also just like horrible quality. So really I didn't have that much of an option. So I decided, let's try and buy this one. Also because I don't need it as a statement piece. I don't need it to be out in the front where everybody can see it. I can get that once I get really good at bookbinding. Let's start talking about the press itself. The very first question is it good? And I have a picture here of a test I did for future magic books where I printed out the Planeswalker symbol. You can see the stamp here, and as you can see on the impression it made, you can almost see like the 3D printed lines. So it's kind of too good almost, but in most cases I'm gonna be covering it up either with paint, or I'm gonna keep practicing my gold foil in hopes that someday it's gonna look neat, or other things. So I don't really mind, and if I really need to at work, I can CNC cut something out of wood that will have more of a neat surface, or I can use like acrylic or something. But for most cases a 3D print is gonna work fine. But there are some flaws, and there are two major flaws, three if you really want to be like nitpicky, and I'll get to that. The first flaw, at least from what I found, is if you have more than one large stamp going on, it cannot do an even pressure. So really it's like one stamp, one stamp, one stamp, one stamp, so it slows down the process. And I don't know if there's something wrong with how I placed it in the press or whatever, or if I'm just doing things wrong in general, but it can only take one stamp, at least for me. If you know how to make it work with more, please let me know, because it would speed it up, but I don't really mind, to be honest. Okay, the two other things are kinda nitpicky. Let's start with the first one. The first one is when you get it, I haven't fixed it on mine yet, the lead screw is not oiled very well or greased, so it's really noisy. It makes a lot of noise, and it works, but you will probably want to give it some grease or some WD-40 or something like that. Just ordinary bicycle, ordinary grease, WD-40 is like the most common thing. Like, you don't need anything fancy for it. It's made of stainless steel, and it's made of heavy-duty stainless steel. You'll be fine. The final thing is, if you look on the picture, you often see it has this back brace. And that's really annoying if you have like a whole piece of leather because you cut out your entire cover in one big piece of leather. So you kind of want, to put it in and not have it curl up or anything, so you don't get too many unnecessary wrinkles. Well, the solution to that is there are two screws in the bottom of the back piece you can just take out. It's standard, I think, torque. Screw that out, and out goes the back piece, and you solve that problem. So really, to me, it only has one flaw. Well, of course, okay, it's not the most aesthetically looking thing, but the main flaw is actually just the pressure, and even that I don't think it's a flaw. So given it's just above $100 US or €100 or whatever, I think it's pretty good. Should you buy it? I would say so. I think it's worth the money. It's cheap. It's not the biggest in the world. Like, you can definitely get old vintage ones that are way, way bigger, but for beginner hobbies, I think it's perfect. I think it's exactly what you want. And my big question were then, so it's a Chinese model. Mine is the Vevor brand, but it's like generic Chinese brand number 7 in some ways, I suppose. I don't know how proud they are of the brand. It feels that way, but it feels sturdy enough, so I don't complain too much. A big question is it shipped from China then? Do I have to pay customs? Do I have to wait multiple weeks? Well, mine was shipped from Czechia. I didn't have to pay customs, and it only took 2 weeks to get it. So, and from what I can understand, they do have office, like not offices, warehouses all over the world. So really, you can quickly get your item and you don't have to pay customs. So I really don't think it's a bad buy, and it's cheap, and it's cheap and it's simple. And you don't have to look forever and hope you find a vintage one working, and you don't need to look into doing a lot of restoration if it's bad. You don't have to worry about if there's a lot of rust or anything. It works straight out of the box. It even comes assembled for you. So it's just drag it out, start using it. So what do you think? Do you have it? What do you think if you have it? Will you consider getting it? Let me know in the comments down below, and subscribe for book reviews, and I'm gonna be rebinding a book pretty soon, and yeah, leave a like and a comment.